Gen Z.
Oi!
No,
America!
given this,
These people are petty, aren't they?
Hello, and welcome back to the Cyber News Weekly podcast. This week, we'll be discussing our security team's research on Bang Bros. We will also discuss the decision behind the ban on Instagram in Turkey and the subsequent blocking of VPN providers. Cyber News has also taken a little trip to Sin City, Las Vegas this week, where we attended the Black Hat conference. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and what we've discovered there. And finally, the idiots of the internet spawn again. And as one scammer reveals that he extorted Telegram, Instagram, TikTok and Snapchat users on the popular No Jumper podcast. To explore these topics, I am joined by my colleagues, Ginterus.
Hi.
And Yodagita.
Hi.
Hello. So, Bang Bros.
What of them?
What of them? Bang Bros, amazing name for an, I don't know if it's amazing, but anyway. It's an adult website founded by Christopher Hinson when he was studying at the University of Florida, which I think is pretty cool.
And got bored.
Yeah, and got bored.
He's a Florida man, maybe the original one.
Perhaps. And this platform has been subject to a few controversies. Specifically, the Federal Trade Commission wanted a piece of the porn site, and the studio basically settled a lawsuit for about $700,000. But now it's at the center of a different type of controversy. Ginterus, maybe you have some insights.
Maybe I have some thoughts rather than insights, really. I did attempt to enter the Bang Bros website at work, which was a mistake. Immediately.
What did you see?
Pornography.
What kind of pornography?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, describe.
Literally, Jesus Christ. Oh, well, organs of a human body. So, right. Okay, I'm going to start with a little bit of background. It is an adult entertainment company. On its website, it shows what it produces and distributes, which is pornographic content, obviously.
Yeah, I just wanted to say why we don't say porn so much anymore. It's the marketing term, and also like Google and social media bans it. So we call every porn website essentially adult website, or because it's just porn.
Yeah, it is porn, yeah. So it's a porn film studio and porn platform.
Yes, thank you.
It is now owned by a Czech company.
Yeah.
I happen to know that porn is big in Czech Republic, or Czechia as they prefer to be called these days.
Why do you know that?
I'm a guy. So anyway.
I've also heard that there's the whole category for Czech girls. Not only.
Yeah. So what happened was a leak of information, of IP addresses, usernames, locations, feedback messages, and model performance stats of Bang Bros users' private data. So in the beginning of June, our researchers discovered an unprotected Elasticsearch cluster containing more than 8 gigabytes of sensitive information. It was indexed, the data by search engines, appeared on June the 3rd. And yes, the problem of this leak has been solved, apparently. But of course, there's still a risk that malicious actors may have access to data, because we all know the data never actually vanishes from
never goes away.
The wide desert of the internet. And I can only quote our information security researcher, who said, quote, "If bad actors manage to get their hands on this data, they might trace and link adult content viewers' habits to specific individuals, and combined with other private information, this could lead to significant privacy issues, cause personal embarrassment, and result in social stigma in places with conservative attitudes." So just to sum up, that sensitive information includes IP addresses, usernames, user agents, that's device type, OS, browser version, configuration, etc., messages, country, everything, basically everything, right? So they were not leaked directly, but hackers are smart enough to associate the IP addresses with the identity of these individuals from other leaks, if they did happen. So yeah, 500,000 records The number tied to IP addresses, usernames, dates, and other information is around 40,000. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that, Neve?
Well, I don't know. It kind of reminds me, although it's not specifically linked, it kind of reminds me of the Ashley Madison situation where, the adult sites
That's 2015.
Yes.
And yes, you did review the documentary of Netflix.
I did indeed. It was very good. Go and watch it.
Tell me it wasn't, but fine. Okay.
Basically, in the Ashley Madison situation, hackers got into, although obviously it's different because this isn't the case here, but hackers got into the website or whatever and took lots of private information from the users who were committing infidelity, I guess. So I guess in a sense it's kind of similar because you can, exploit people for their fetishes or whatever, or you can, if they're one of the security researchers said, if you're in more conservative area of the world and you're watching certain things that aren't necessarily, kind of tolerated, then you could be in some trouble.
A couple of things to mention. I agree that it is kind of similarish to
the fact that they're adult sites and it's personal data.
Well, yeah, but one is a dating site.
Yeah, for
cheating
sure.
site, really. I mean, and it's one thing to cheat and then be exposed. It's probably there's a larger stigma around that than to using or watching porn, really.
Well, not necessarily.
Everyone watches porn.
I don't think this is even about the stigma. So that's obviously one thing, but we do cover so many of those leaks, and we discover, obviously we don't write about all of them because there's just so much of them, companies leaving publicly accessible data or very sensitive data, right? And we know with automated tools for threat actors, they can discover those databases so quickly, just in mere seconds, right?
Yeah.
And they are financially motivated actors. So what they probably do, they scan those databases, maybe for high-profile figures, maybe they try to link them to the addresses, and seeing that someone lives in a big house, fancy house, right? They might blackmail them, just blackmailing, saying that, hey, I will tell this to your wife that you are watching porn or cheating and whatnot, and just ask for ransom, right? This is incredibly dangerous. Also, the whole porn industry is being stigmatized, of course, mainly in the US because of age verification laws. Pornhub is being banned, in many states, right? And the problem is that states basically ask you to upload your ID document on the website, and we know that, they will end in some sort of the database similar to what we just discovered. And what are the chances that they might be exposed as well? Of course.
And then deepfakes might happen.
Yeah. Of course, by accident, right? Probably. I don't think that companies dealing with such sensitive data, they definitely don't do that on purpose, but human error, all accidents happen. And that way it's, way more serious than just, exposing your porn watching habits, which might be embarrassing, right? But that's one problem. Completely another level is if that would also include your identity document, it could lead to identity theft, right? And so many other things here. So this is really, really sensitive.
And also what we've seen with other leaks that we've discovered is that people tend to use their real names and attribute their real identities to certain, places. So what could people do, Ginteris, if, they have used their
How
real
could
names?
they protect their cyber genitalia, basically, right?
Exactly.
Well, they could not use their real names or reveal personal data. It's harder these days. I mean, most of these, not the porn platforms or whatnot, but certainly Google or other service providers, they kind of need and can easily detect your real identity with actually multi-factor authentication because it's all tied up to your contracts and accounts and whatnot. So I think even me, myself, my real name and my real last name is included in my email address.
Yeah.
I presume I have nothing to hide, but I would one day probably because I'm just being a little bit naive, I guess. But who knows? Life is short. Anyways, don't. Yeah. So if you can, if you really, let's say, think that you're using risky accounts or platforms, and then you may be subject to some blackmail or whatnot. So just don't mask or anonymize sensitive data fields like usernames and IP addresses. Use, again, multi-factor authentication, and use a VPN, which is a virtual, what is it?
Private network.
Okay.
I know what it is. Just forgot the words. I'm just after the vacation, as is.
Anyway, I would say because I might be paranoid because we do cover these stories on a daily basis, and even companies that are supposed to protect you, even cybersecurity companies get breached, right? All the question here is only about the intentions and how persistent those threat actors are. But anyway, I would say that if you are doing anything online, just make sure that if it goes public, you'll be fine. So don't do anything illegal, right?
Yeah.
And probably nothing against your morals or what could hurt your family. Let's say if cheating would not be, whatever.
Accepted or like appreciated.
Yeah, now the way I put it, I understand that, I just put it in the way that, because I'm not accepting it. But anyway, if you think that you could hurt your partner, maybe don't do that online then, at least. Because the way I see it, all the data about me that I put online, intentionally or by accident, it is out there somewhere and in so many places because companies trade that data as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's all over the place. So, I just treat it as being in a public, just the way you act in some public space, in a restaurant. I think that's the way you should act on the internet, right? So don't do anything illegal and anything that, if it goes public, that would hurt people, basically. Of course, there are some hygiene things that you could make sure and protect yourself, as Ginter has mentioned. Probably create alter ego persona on the internet. Also, use all the tools that are out there, like VPNs and multi-factor authentication. They will help in probably 98% of the cases for you not to get breached. But have in mind that there are so many persistent actors, and it pays so well being a criminal. So, by accident or not, your data might be out there in the public at some point.
I absolutely agree, as always. I just wanted to add that I think the worst scenario is a person behaving in a very decent way in public, and then in private acting like they don't really care about the things that they say in public. For instance, right? So bashing indecent or immoral adult content and its availability, but then suddenly it's revealed that this person is a mad porn user every day, or bashing illegal piracy of content, and then someone finds on his laptop loads of illegally downloaded movies or TV series or music, or stuff like that, like that priest.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Catholic priest.
Do you remember there was a scandal here in Lithuania when our parliament members actually used their work, so parliament emails, to register to a privacy website? So
amazing.
And I guess,
to a porn website.
Piracy.
No, piracy. Piracy website.
Great. Amazing.
So that's probably something you should also avoid doing, using your work email. Signing up to a porn and other private websites. You can get fired, not only exposed, but it's also a corporate security issue.
That's
here.
crazy.
But people do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, in the case of Bang Bros, I mean, it's not as, I guess, it is obviously risky to give up your private data, personal data to the platform that is then leaking information.
Yeah.
But then it's not the same as Ashley Madison still
No,
in my
it's
mind,
different,
because
but-
it's if you're true to yourself, basically, let's admit everyone has watched porn at least once in their life, and there's not so much. Oh, and yes, there are conservative places around the world, in the US and blah blah blah, but still, I mean, even if you're like caught watching porn, like, yeah, I did watch porn, so sorry.
But what
You
kind
didn't
of
cheat.
porn
It's not going to end up in divorce.
But
and
there's no bad kind
whatnot.
of porn there because it's a legal, legitimate website. And that's, why those
Yeah.
websites are there. It's way better to watch porn there because they are,
Than to cheat. Yeah.
malware free and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because if you would just Google for porn, you would get Trojans
Yeah.
immediately. Things like that and leaks like that, and also the age verification laws. I think they are pushing people more into the like piracy porn sites, like the shady ones.
Yeah.
Where there's the whole another problem, right, about the malware and whatnot, and that's where it really gets way more dangerous than just getting exposed on such a database. It's way
Yeah.
more dangerous to look for porn on some shady websites, because then you immediately get infected, your computer gets infected, and then they can steal all the data there is about you on your device, and not only because it has internet access. So it's way more dangerous.
Yeah.
horny
You
people.
use a VPN. Just use a VPN.
Unless you live in Turkey, which you may not be able to, because Meta's platform, Instagram, has recently been banned in Turkey. We all have probably heard about this, seemingly for no reason at all. But there's two sides to every story, and many have speculated that this is in response to Meta's supposed censorship of condolence posts for the now dead Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. How does this relate to VPNs? VPNs are also being blocked in the country, supposedly. But I will talk about the ban first. So the ban started on the 2nd of August, and to my knowledge now, it still remains banned in Turkey. This happened just after the killing of the Hamas member,
Political leader.
yes, on July 31st. Various people, including media outlets, have speculated that this is because of Meta's censorship of condolences for those grieving the loss of this person. The ban, as I said, is still ongoing, but discussions are being had between government officials and Meta to try and reach some kind of agreement. I'm not sure what that agreement will entail, but that's more of a developing story. The Turkish president spoke out about the ban and basically said that Meta's actions to supposedly censor this information is regarded as digital fascism, which, is fighting words. But after the ban, people reported that VPNs weren't really working. And one group, the Freedom of Expression Association, or IFOD, has created a list of VPNs which have supposedly been blocked in the country. According to IFOD, 27 VPN providers have been blocked, including well-known brands like NordVPN, Surfshark, and ExpressVPN. So as far as it goes, there are a lot of people who are using Instagram in Turkey, and 58 million, to be precise.
That's basically almost all of the population.
Yeah, crazy. And there, as we've seen from previous situations where things have been banned in different countries, people aren't going to want to stop using it because it's being banned, right? So VPNs are the answer. However, now it appears that they're being blocked.
Yeah, that's the usual tactics these days by these semi or fully authoritarian countries. In Russia, for instance, they not only ban websites or platforms, but also VPNs, because in combination, that kind of stops you from somehow entering still the platform, because they have figured out that VPNs is what helps people.
Yeah.
Finally, it's 20 years after, I guess,
But
VPNs.
the problem isn't
were
Instagram
created.
here, right?
No.
So yeah, people can't access that. Oh, so big deal. But it seems like it's an excuse to ban VPNs because they're like they censored condolences. Yeah. So what? We are past that now. Why still ban it? But you know. people use VPNs for security and privacy to kind of hide their location, not only to access websites and apps and whatnot. They also just want to stay private online and secure, and that's why they would use it. And especially in countries like Turkey, right, and others, you might want to take extra security measures when you are doing something online, whether you are just a simple citizen or maybe you are, a part of, I don't know, some activist or hacktivist group, if you are going to protests, if you are a human rights, organization member and whatnot. It's not only about Instagram, because that censor part, they could have restored it by now already.
Yeah.
And they will, I think. First, though, it's not only about. I think it's not only about the leader of Hamas who's been killed by Israelis on July 31st. Also about him, of course, but apparently, according to Erdogan, the Turkish president, Meta or Instagram specifically has been blocking the posting of photographs of what he calls Palestinian martyrs, and ban them, which is surprising for me because dead bodies are not allowed anywhere in the world, be they Palestinian, German, Lithuanian, or whatnot. I mean, you cannot post, harmful content or graphic content. So that is what I think. That is the reason I think this is politics, as always in Turkey and with Erdogan. Yes, Turkey does not consider Hamas a terror organization, unlike most of Western countries, as we may well remember that it was Hamas that arranged the October 7th terrorist attack inside Israel, killed around 1,000 people or 700 people. Yes, Israel's military actions towards Hamas in the Gaza Strip have also been devastating. But still, I mean, Erdogan has been describing Hamas as a liberation movement, which is also very, very sorry for laughing. Weird. But it is politics. I think in a few days, in a week, the access to Instagram will be restored because it's all happened before. Last year, there was an earthquake in Turkey, if you remember. 44,000 people died or something like that. And the government was really heavily criticized for its response, or rather lack of response. Rescue efforts were very chaotic. So when after the earthquake, social media, Turkish social media was flooded with all this criticism, what Erdogan did is blocked a local social media site and Twitter. It was an obvious attempt in my mind to dictate its own narrative, basically to push its own message and to crowd out others. Election was coming up in Turkey back then, so let's just shut the critics up for like 5 days. Let's all then settle down, and then we can return to normalcy, which is what happened. I think this will happen again this time.
I received a comment from VPN product manager at Surfshark, and he said, this quote, "What is extremely troubling in the country's actions towards banning services during particularly worrying times, such as their decision to block access to Twitter for about 12 hours as people scrambled to find loved ones after devastating earthquakes." So it's insane.
Yeah, but Twitter is probably not the only way you can get in touch with your loved ones. Also, I'm, not really a sympathizer with Erdogan, but what I can say that these big tech companies, they are definitely becoming so big, and we just saw that the US court ruled that Google actually has the monopoly, right?
Yeah.
And, I think that is a way to deal with those companies. If you aren't heard as a country, when you try to ask nicely them to do something, then maybe it's just kind of logical step to ban it for a few days and then see, okay, maybe now they will negotiate, because we also had some problems with Meta, with Facebook here in Lithuania regarding the Russian-Ukraine war, right? With the way they moderate content, and we want to be heard, right? We want to kind of them explain the moderation rules, what they censor, what they don't, and it's not always clear. And these companies now are so big, maybe that's the way to deal with them. I don't know, but I know for sure that it's not all very transparent, and we need to make them accountable for what they do and explain them how they moderate the content, how they choose what to show us, what not to show us, right? We want
I
answers as well.
absolutely agree. I mean, there's also the issue of algorithmic transparency, which is not there with TikTok, X, Meta's apps. Like you mentioned, Lithuanian example. There's this Turkish example. There's the UK example as well. There've been riots in the UK this past week. The far right's are actually rioting and targeting immigrants, basically black or brown people, which is sad. But what Elon Musk, the owner of X, is doing is, I guess, probably pushing all these far right accounts up there in the For You section of the website on X, and then himself saying that UK is heading towards a civil war. How is that not incitement? And what should the United Kingdom do, basically? Because clearly these kinds of posts are inciting violence and increasing tension. And I mean, Turkey or not, I mean, what if the country is democratic? Still, should they allow this? Because clearly this is incitement.
Yeah, and the main reason why these riots all started was due to misinformation on social media.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's ridiculous.
Also, so many companies, so many publishers, as we are, right, trying to figure out Google algorithm for so many years, and they change it every year, right? And so many businesses depend on those companies, be it Google or Meta or Microsoft, all of them. And then throwing so many resources to kind of find out how these algorithms work. It's those companies are crazy too. So I of course want all the people be able to use Instagram, and more importantly VPNs for their privacy, and exercise their freedom of speech and whatnot. But we definitely want more transparency into different practices by those companies.
Certainly. And it's costing the Turkish economy a lot of money to ban Instagram. It's costing roughly 1.9 billion lira, or $57 million per day. So, it's kind of, I guess, a lose-lose situation.
Like for small businesses that are like advertising on Instagram, or?
It just says that it's costing the Turkish economy. So I don't know. But
we will never know the true numbers of Turkish economy, I'm afraid, because a lot of that is underground. I just wanted to say that in the case of Turkey and the bans of social media apps, clearly there is a problem of censorship in Turkey, because it's not entirely free and democratic as a country, as a system. But big tech should be, I don't want to say dealt with, but let's just look at big tech as we used to look at big tobacco and big oil. In the US,
take accountability.
For ages they were saying, we will regulate ourselves. We will develop our own rules about climate, about the environment, and whatnot. And again, clearly this wasn't enough. So finally, the states had to intervene and develop a legal code for dealing with stuff that is polluting or harming people. So big tech, I'm afraid, and I'm actually glad it's probably moving towards that kind of situation where regulation will be needed inevitably.
And we do have examples here in Europe, right? Like the whole energy sector, they introduced all the laws where you can't actually produce, for example, electricity and then own the grid, right? It has to be separated. So, maybe it's time something like this is proposed and drafted for the big tech, because of what you said, right? Just banning one social media platform costs Turkish economy like nearly 60 million per day. How can this be? This is not good.
No.
Yeah.
You should be able to ban something. Not that I'm for it, but
But yeah, if
it's too much.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's in the background of the effort to decentralize the whole internet, I guess, because if it's all monopolized by these few platforms, it's very risky.
Yeah.
So,
Regulation.
Regulate.
Go on.
So, up next, we have Black Hat, which was founded in 1997, is an internationally recognized cybersecurity event series providing the most technical and relevant information security research, says Black Hat. Our colleagues have been reporting from Black Hat and reporting on all that the conference encompasses. Yogita, maybe you could tell us more.
I could tell you more, not that much though. The conference has just started in Las Vegas, right? It's what they call a hacker summer camp, and we've got their free cyber news representatives from the newsroom, right? Also from the YouTube team, and we've already published a few articles, but obviously we'll have way more this week and the coming week. Because this is very interesting, and essentially all the cybersecurity community from around the world gathers in the conference. It's a super huge event, super interesting, especially for the industry where they talk all the latest trends, latest research and hacks, right? Recent ones. Also, it's very good for networking, as all conferences are. People mostly go there to kind of network, build business relationships and whatnot. Anyways, it started in quite an interesting way. We learned about this from Twitter, actually, not ourselves, because our journalist didn't give that notice. But apparently on Sunday, when people started arriving at the conference, at the venues and their hotels that they are supposed to stay at, one of the hotels, the Resorts World.
Okay.
Yeah, there was the Resorts World. So just so many of them. They presented some people who shared that note that there's going to be security check-ins in their hotel rooms.
Crazy.
Meaning that even if you put a do not disturb sign on your doorknob, security personnel, for some reason, would still enter your room at any point and, just do a visual and what they said, non-intrusive check.
It's already intrusive.
It's very intrusive, and
America.
Given this, all the hackers gather there, so people who know privacy and protect or penetrate that, and suddenly they are being invaded themselves. Their privacy is being invaded, so that's really interesting.
How ironic.
And they didn't explain much more on why they are doing that. I get that this is a super big conference, right? And higher security threats and whatnot. And, there was a huge shooting in one of the hotels in 2017. I think a person hid in the room for a couple of days, waited for the concert to happen, and it ended in dozens of people dead. So there's that. Ironically, there are so many gun shows in Las Vegas. One big one coming up in September. So I just wonder what security check they're gonna have perform there.
Probably none.
Maybe it's not about the guns. I don't know. Hackers also are quite scared about this. Not maybe scared, but they feel vulnerable. They bring a variety of weird devices that other people don't recognize, and because they develop stuff, right? And so some of them shared that, okay, I don't feel safe because, I brought this and that, and I don't know what, the security guards that are probably not cybersecurity, experts. So what they are gonna think about them. So it's quite controversial, this security check. We don't have any reports yet of this actually happening, so people are not reporting just yet that someone actually kind of went through their rooms. Maybe it's really just as they said, a non-intrusive check. But
how
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, how could, if they're planning on going into your rooms, how can it be non-intrusive just to look around and go, oh, okay, it's fine, it's clear in here? And what are they looking for?
We don't know.
Well, we don't know. I'm not even sure if it's hotel policy or is it somehow pushed from above somewhere. Because look, I mean, this is technology we're talking about, cybersecurity, tools and whatnot, wares of any kind. So the US is pretty hyped up about the Chinese threat at the moment, right? For years now. So maybe they're looking for some stuff that some suspicious kind of people would bring into the conference, because I'm sure
People aren't
there
bugging
will be
rooms.
Chinese like cyber spies or whatnot, or agents, or because they're everywhere. So maybe that's just speculation. I mean, it looks invasive and intrusive, but maybe
Yeah,
there's a
but
reason behind that.
maybe again after 9/11 the security checks are way more intrusive, and when I traveled in the US, I would often find a note in my luggage saying that, okay, the customs have been through your luggage, right? And you kind of
Have to deal with it.
but that's nothing interesting in my luggage, so I don't care. But hackers that are really innovating with their devices, they are a bit concerned about this. Anyway, that's just how it started. Obviously there will be a lot of briefings during the conference about the most groundbreaking stuff. AI will be at the center stage as well, because everyone's been talking about it. And hackers, they don't only talk about it, they also try to penetrate it to see what bad actors could actually do with it, right? And in case of large language models, right, they say that, there's been a report that we covered saying that, okay, while it's really good and useful when you do like scientific research and whatnot, there can be some breakthroughs, but also we have to understand that it's as any other software or device, it's vulnerable, right? We just don't know to what extent yet. And they said that it's really worrying, especially when it comes to military, healthcare, finance organizations. If threat actors would breach a model without you knowing it, it could misdiagnose, patients. It could also tweak your software, like if you are in the military, and lead you to like really wrongful actions that could, cause casualties and whatnot. And it's really, really dangerous. So, that's one of the focus of the Black Hat. Also, there's gonna be there was at the time of publishing this recording, right? It's already
Happened.
finished.
Yes.
It's happened, right? So there are a lot of briefings about obviously smart devices, because we are also smart, meaning we are so dangerous. I remember Univ just asked me this morning a question about my bottle. Why was it lighting up every once in a while? Because it's a smart water bottle. It reminds me I need to drink water, and how much did I have that day? Is it enough or not? But while convenient, it also exposes me to cyber attacks, because it has an app, obviously, and if there's an app, there might be vulnerabilities, they might get exploited, whatnot. And so, those hackers were looking into car hacks, and all other like smart devices and applications, also popular features and new features like Microsoft Copilot and whatnot, essentially just presenting their research on how they try to penetrate different software and hardware, and, just to help us wrap our heads around what threat actors, what bad hackers could do with all those applications, all that software and hardware. So that's really mind blowing, right? Just the scope of research that just came out, right?
Yeah.
And we probably will be analyzing it for months, if not longer, because there were some really innovative ideas, a bit scary ones, because maybe just because they came at the same time, it's like,
I
so much.
wrote an interesting research that will be, or has already been by now, presented at Black Hat about the way that ransomware gangs communicate, and the research focused around the Conti or Spider, Wizard Spider, I think it's called, ransomware gang. And yeah, it just basically showed how features like resilience, hierarchy, and how there are different kinds of relationships in ransomware gangs that basically affect the way that they communicate with each other. And I guess the point of this research is to kind of, the more that we understand the intricacies in the way that ransom gangs work, the better we can understand them and dismantle them. So yeah, it's really interesting stuff.
But I'm just surprised with how much intelligence those industry leaders they actually have. Viljus, our colleague who was there in the conference, he had an interview with CIO from the Intel 471, right? And
Cool.
they were talking about the underground world, also ransomware gangs. And the guy said that, these underground gangs are not unlike Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
they built their business on reputation.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much like business. They take all the best examples from publicly traded companies,
Yeah.
and they try to replicate this underground. I'm kind of happy that there's so much resources thrown into understanding how they work and how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it seems, at least from this interview with the pundit, it seems that, it's probably not realistic that we kind of make that disappear, right? But what he said, that it is actually possible to impose higher costs for them to kind of just conduct those operations, meaning some of the targets and some operations, they are just becoming harder and harder for them to execute, meaning that they might leave, at least some targets, alone just because it's becoming
not worth
quite expensive to execute those attacks,
Yeah. Well,
What kind of hat would you be if you could, like black or white hat?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't like to be a hacker. Like we see in those movies, like it's so fast and so nice. But in reality, from our white hat hackers here within the company, we see that it takes so much time to do anything right, because it's codes and it's lines of information, and it takes ages. Like the findings are really nice, but
Yeah, I would just be
not as romantic.
the hat that
No.
has never existed.
yeah, I'd probably
The
be
tinfoil
Tinfoil
hat.
hat.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'd probably be a stupid hacker and just brag about all of my exploits.
Oh.
Speaking of,
Speaking of which, yes, speaking of bragging and exposing yourself in public. Not like Bang Bros, but in a different kind of way. So I watch a lot of true crime, and I often look at these people who get caught and think, how are you so stupid? But yeah, people commit crimes and they do get caught, they get arrested and charged and whatever. But I wouldn't think that people openly advertise their criminal activities online. But that's what one guy did. One guy advertised his criminal activities on a podcast called No Jumper, which
is
has
a sports podcast, isn't it?
yeah. Which
Okay.
has almost, well, it kind of does. It's here, there, and everywhere, I think. Although, like I think,
Infotainment,
yeah.
sportstainment, whatever. 5 million subscribers.
Yes, 5 million subscribers, so not an insignificant account, like you may have heard of it. Yeah, well, one idiot basically outed himself, and his name is Idris. Forgive me if I mispronounce this, but Quiba. The alleged operator of Unlocked for Life, which advertises its services as being able to unban and ban Telegram accounts, Instagram accounts, TikTok, and Snapchat accounts. So, on the podcast No Jumper, he basically admitted to extorting users, which is, think a little bit more.
I love how you described it.
And the FBI obviously saw the podcast, right?
Yes, they did.
Active subscribers over
It was
there.
actually posted 6 months ago. So
So someone showed it to them, I guess. Then.
yeah, I think they got some kind of tip or whatever, and
Yeah, I'm not
and
sure
then-
they have the time to listen to No Jumper podcast,
No,
but maybe
probably
it's a
not.
huge organization. Maybe someone
Maybe
did
somebody
listen
likes
to
it,
it
yeah.
after 6 months
and went, yes, excellent. So this guy, Idris, goes by various aliases, Danny and Unlocked. I'll call him Danny for the sake of the story. 'cause
Danny Confidential.
Danny Confidential. And basically he brags about having a client base of almost like 200 people who pay him monthly to maintain access to their accounts. He also bragged that he makes like $600,000 a month. So on this podcast, it's pretty funny. I think they just like kind of smoke weed and like just, and he must have, I don't know, been intoxicated and just
Yeah, it's so trash.
told, yeah, yeah, sorry. Basically the host of the podcast called Adam22, he drew on the fact that Danny is basically exploiting these people he said, I've talked to stars who have told me that they've paid to get it, meaning social media platforms, back 20 times over and over and over. And I'm like, you realize what's happening to you, right? When Danny responded, you're getting extorted. So he's basically admitting that he's doing the same thing.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is.
He's just finishing the sentence, hypothetical sentence.
Yeah, but if Adam, well, who says it's hypothetical?
I don't think it will fly at the court. No way.
Maybe not, but I think that's an admission of guilt. But anyway, it might not be in the eyes of the law. Danny basically targeted high-value individuals with big followings. He frequently locked users out of their accounts, and if they disagreed with him, and he references this in the podcast by saying, "I'm very petty," and yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Do we know how old is he? Is he Gen Z? Or?
I actually am not going to
petty,
even
aren't they?
Look,
look this up.
like just the whole setup, right? So you have
You're petty.
you have someone as a guest on a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's a joint scene like on the table of the podcast. So that's one red flag. Another one is someone brags to you that they defrauded people, and well, why don't you call the police then?
Also,
Yeah.
why would you? It's still up on the YouTube channel. Still up.
Why
The
not?
podcast.
Why not?
Because it's
proof.
evidence, surely.
Yeah, they can have copies over at the
I guess-
FBI, don't they?
If the host took it down, that's probably like he's doing something with,
Yeah. If they
Tampering with
I
evidence.
think they have to leave it up.
But I was just shocked because usually those kinds of things get taken down. But so some of the victims, the criminal complaint that I read alleges that there are 8 victims that have dealt with having
At least.
At least.
Sorry,
yeah.
was the complaint filled after the podcast aired?
Yes.
So maybe there are fake victims as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Maybe.
They just saw an opportunity and took it.
Maybe. But
But I know. I mean, they probably not probably, but definitely the FBI talked to the alleged victims and then asked them to provide
There's evidence.
emails, documentation, messages, and whatnot.
there's
and they probably
evidence.
did,
There's loads and loads of messages
yeah.
that they received because alongside this like unbanning and banning service, he also sells personally identifiable information to people, which we know is really bad. And he also was doxing people, and what else was he doing? He was doing something else, but I've forgotten. He's doing a lot of things, basically.
Fucking around.
Yeah, and he was spamming people with messages like in the thousands. These victims who, alleged victims. And extorting people out of thousands of dollars. So
this is such a weird story.
It is.
Not the scam in itself, but just the way it is playing out.
yeah, it was really bad. And
I just wonder if half of it is true. Or...
yeah, that's the thing. I do believe it because he's now facing federal charges and he appeared in court. So I do.
Yeah, but to what extent? You can't believe it. You are a journalist, so have to be cautious about it.
Yes,
but
of
anyway,
course.
and I know people like to brag about stuff. Of course, it's stupid to brag about the illegal shit that you did. But anyway, maybe he just added a few details there.
Yeah, maybe it's embellished. That's true. But the statements or the kind of what the victim said was quite interesting. There was one victim called JT who supposedly asked for a quote for a username, because that's also what Danny does. He unlocks usernames that aren't, accessible generally, and, asks for money for them. So JT asked for a quote for this username, and it was between $4,000 to $5,000. The victim went against it, said, I don't want to do that. And then Danny became furious and basically locked him out of his 2 accounts, which had about 500,000 followers at the time, and demanded a payment of $10,000. So it's essentially holding your account ransom, no?
Yeah, there's a whole different world going on around the industry, so to speak, right? The whole
But what people
hostage
are
taking,
doing?
digital hostage taking, isn't it? I mean, I guess.
Well,
yeah, something like
But it's
that.
not even a popular account. So what's the 5,000 followers?
500,000.
500,000.
Oh, 500. Yeah.
Yeah. And
this whole thing is just so. It's actually fascinating in
It
a way,
is.
and it pays well.
but you know what?
This is not an admission of guilt.
He even extended this kind of level of abuse to his dentist.
One is allowed to hate dentists, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, but to send them violent messages saying you're dead, dog, effing dead, and then to threaten their family. But yeah, so that was basically Danny. Danny is facing federal charges, and as the story develops, I guess we'll find out more. I'm intrigued by the outcome.
I really hope we learn, the ending of this.
Yeah.
Best of luck, Danny boy.
Good luck, Danny. I hope you're in jail for a long time, weirdo. Anyway, so this has been us at the Cyber News Podcast. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed our content, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.